Welcome back, 5th grade. We're on Domain 1, Lesson 9, Tone. Our objectives for today are to define tone and compare and contrast the tones of two texts. Some key vocabulary to keep in mind. Fare is a payment for public transportation. Thickset is having a broad body. Intimidating is threatening. Vacant is empty. Stepwell is a stairway. Hog slopping is feeding pigs. Toil is hard work. Porter is a person who carries baggage, and attendants are assistants. So, what is tone? Tone is the attitude or mood of an author or character. So on the next few slides, we're going to read a few different examples of tones using the same situation. We're going to notice how each passage demonstrates a different kind of tone. How does the author feel or being perceived? Are they hopeful, optimistic, fearful, sarcastic? We're going to read those on the next slide. Okay, so passage 1. I am quite convinced that the reopening of the Museum of Giant Rocks will not end well. In 1990, on the museum's opening day, the fasteners and bolts that held the giant rocks in place came loose, sending huge stones rolling in every direction, crushing cars and barely missing a crowd of people. The authorities immediately closed down the museum and then reopened it 2 years later. On the second opening day, the exact same thing occurred. Since then, the museum has reopened 7 times, each time with the same results. Today, again, the museum is scheduled to reopen after being rebuilt by the same architects and builders who have worked on it from the start. So if you can notice from that passage, the tone of the author is fearful. They also are very strategic, and they're with giving the facts on things. So you can see how that tone is very direct. Passage 2. Really? Reopen the Museum of Giant Rocks? What a brilliant idea by the mayor and his advisors, because every town is better off with smashed storefronts, crushed cars, and citizens running for their lives from huge boulders rolling down the middle of Main Street. You can notice from this one, this is very sarcastic. Like, oh geez, of course they would do this. And that kind of demonstrates the tone of this author is very sarcastic. Passage 3. I squeezed my lucky penny in my pocket as we pulled into the parking lot of the Museum of Giant Rocks. I needed all the luck I could get. Rocks fall, rocks roll, rocks bounce. Rocks give people concussions. Who had the crazy idea of reopening this museum of mayhem? I hugged the wall and tried to keep my legs from shaking as my dad dragged me to the first exhibit. Let me wrestle a bear, let me juggle chainsaws. Anything but this. Now in this one, you can notice how the author is very fearful and scared and paranoid about this. So it's a really amazing thing how tone can change the meaning of a passage. So all 3 of these were about the same museum, but they all had very different tones. So you're going to be reading 2 passages where you're going to be able to look at those things of tone and see if you can find how the author might be feeling and demonstrating. I'll give each slide a few seconds, and you're going to actually read them independently today. Feel free to pause my video at any time to be able to read carefully. Okay, this is the second text you're going to read. You're going to do the exact same thing and look for that tone. And that is the end of the lesson for today. Feel free to go back and reread anything that you need to, and be sure to complete your assessment and send it to your teacher. And I will see everyone in our next lesson.